Welcome to this feline-centered episode of Talking Lamar. Today, I'm talking about some more of my adventures at Budweiser. Let's get to it.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Sorry, I forgot what I was talking about.
What are you talking about?
I am talking to you.
That's just what I was talking about.
It's Talking Lamar.
You know, I worked at Budweiser for 37 years, and my boss at Budweiser, his name was Craig Phillips, and he was the president and majority owner of the distributorship. And Craig was a really good man. He passed away a few years ago. And as a lot of men like him, there will never be another one. I mean, he was a one of a kind. He was a lieutenant in Vietnam, and he was a hard man. He led men into combat. He took fire. He returned fire. I mean, he's seen some stuff, you know? And he ran the company with a military bend, you know? He was straight on it. He was a big hunter, mostly birds and ducks and stuff. He was hard, but a lot of that was to hide the fact that he had this really big heart. And he could not afford for people to have access to that much. I mean, for him to run a company, you know, he had to be, you know, you had to be questioning yourself. If you was going to ask him for something, in your head, you had to go, is it worth asking him, you know, that kind of thing. But he helped a lot of people in a lot of ways. But, buddy, if you screwed up, he would get into your ass. I mean, I'm telling you, he knew how to get in it. And he would chew you up one side down and the other. But then once it was over, it was over. He had expressed his displeasure. He's explained what has been done wrong. And he's gave the correction and what needed to be done to fix it. And he assumed it would not happen again. So the next minute, it was back to business like it never happened. Always respected that. Always. And if you're on the receiving end, you did your best to make sure that you never did cause that problem or whatever it is again. But then somebody could come into a problem in his office and close the door, and he would listen. He would do everything he could to help find a solution, both work-wise, personal, family. I mean, that was that soft part. But the one thing that you would never know about him is he loved cats. I mean, loved cats. Had a soft spot for him.
Like kitty
Like
cats?
dogs?
Like meow?
Yes,
Kitty cats?
yes.
Okay.
And he had a soft spot for him, but he liked dogs and he had hunting dogs and everything, but he loved cats. And one day I went out to his house, and I didn't really know about him and cats, but I went out to his house one day to carry something, and I had to go downstairs to put it up there and whatever. And there were newspapers all over the floor. I mean, everywhere. Now, this is I'm talking really nice, huge, beautiful, meticulous house. But there's newspapers all over this carpeted floor. And I said, what's the deal with the newspapers? And his favorite cat that had been with him for years was really old. And she wasn't well. And vets had done everything they could do, you know, for her. And she was fine. I mean, she was to the point where she could not control her kidneys or her bowels. And she was not in any pain. She could still get around. I mean, she was not suffering or anything, but she just had that problem. And if she had to go, there was no getting to a litter box. She just went. And so he kept newspapers down there constantly, kept it from ruining the carpet, but he tracked that, picked up after her. I mean, he took care of that cat. I mean, he absolutely, he loved it. And, you know, I had a lot of respect for him for that, because if to know him in person, you just wouldn't think he would be that soft and loving with a cat, but he was. And so I told you that story so I can tell you this. One morning, we go in early in the morning and we're checking out the trucks, counting the beer, because, you know, we have to know what's on the truck when it leaves, you know, what truck when it comes back, blah, blah, blah. So we're all checking trucks. Everybody in management's doing that. And so I'm counting this truck, and all of a sudden I hear meow, meow, meow. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And I listen again, and I hear more meowing. And I says, what sounds like a cat? So I walk around the truck, and it's coming from the back of the trailer. And so I get down on the floor and I look, and I can hear it a little bit louder, so I know I'm in the right direction. So I wiggle up under the truck. I'm on my back. I slide up under the truck, and there's like 2 axles in the back of the trailer, and I can hear it, but I can't see it. So a couple more people crawl up under there, and we all hear it, but we can't see it. We're calling it. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. I mean, we're doing everything we can think to do. Nothing. And after we start trying to call it, it just shuts up. Don't say a word. So we spend about 30 minutes trying to see it, trying to find it, trying to get it. And I mean, time's ticking. This is no good. The truck's got to roll. So reluctantly, we said, okay, nothing we can do. Take off. So the guy goes, and his route is about 35 miles away down the interstate. And so he works all the stops in town. He's gone for probably 7 hours. Turns around, he drives 35 miles back, and I crawl under the truck. I hear nothing. I'm like, dang, man, I really hate that. I mean, it was, it's a terrible situation, but, business is business. We got to keep moving. So the next day I come in the morning, and I'm walking by that truck, and I hear, meow, meow. I'm like, what the hell? So I crawl under the trailer, can't see it. I'm hearing it. So I get up, I drive up to a convenience store. I buy some milk and I buy some cat food. So I come back, I put it under the truck, and I walk away. I come back in about 15 minutes. There's a black kitten with a white belly and a partially white face eating cat food. And I mean, this is a tiny kitten. This is a small kitten. So we all get to thinking about it. And so we figured that the kitten was at one of his stops in that town, 35 miles away. And it got up in the trailer. So now it rides one way 35 miles. It rides back another way. And I'm not counting the miles that he's riding around in the town. So you're probably talking 45 miles in each direction. So he's went probably 150 miles by the time she's getting out of here. She's been 150 miles in this truck. And that's pretty impressive. I mean, she's just hanging on to something under the truck for 150 miles. So I get a box, and I put the cat in with some food and the milk, and I put it in my office. So when Craig comes in, I tell him to come out of my office. I show him the cat in the box, tell him the story, and he says, she rode over 150 miles in my truck. That's where she lives. This is it. This is where she lives. Take her to the vet. Tell them to do everything that can be done, treat her for fleas, get the x-rays, get shots, go buy a bed, get the kitty litter, get the food, get the toys. This is where she lives. And her name is Stella. We sell a beer called Stella Artois. So he named her Stella. And so she lived in the front office for more than 13 years. She was so fat, she could hardly walk. I mean, she was just a big, fat cat. And if Craig was at his desk, she spent a lot of time. She'd get up in his lap. And if he wasn't there, she'd lay on the receptionist's desk at the front. And if you walked in the office and you extended your hand, she would reach out and and she would pull your hand in so you could rub her. And after a few minutes, she would turn her face to your hand and close her mouth on the side of your hand or your finger or whatever. And if you didn't stop rubbing, she would slowly bite down until it started to hurt and you stopped. She did that with everybody. She took a little bit of rubbing and then she said, enough's enough. And I mean, she had to run of the place. And, one night, it's been a good many years ago because she's passed now. One night, and I've told y'all this before, I'm telling it again on the podcast. About 2 a.m. in the morning, I got a call from the alarm company. And they said there was activity in the front office. So I got up, went up there, walked around, couldn't find no apparent break-in, nothing was disturbed. And so I came back and got back home, got into bed. Just as I dozed off, alarm comes on again. Activity in the front office, particularly the hallway. So I asked if any perimeter or entrance alarms were activated. And they said no. Well, if nobody's broke in, there really can't be anybody in there. So I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be the cat. So I went to sleep. 30 minutes later, phone rings. I tell him, it must be the cat again. And the lady goes, what do you want me to do? I said, well, look, if this happens again, call the sheriff's department, get the SWAT team out, have them come out and set up. if they can get a clear shot at that cat, just go ahead and take it. Just whatever you do, do not call me again. And so the next day, I asked Craig, I said, what do you want to do about this? I said, Stella and the alarm. Didn't hesitate. He said, disable the hallway sensors, anything else that might pick her up that will cause her any problem, disconnect it, do whatever you need to do, because he didn't want her being disturbed during the night. And she passed probably a few years after Craig died. She was still alive when he died. And, you're looking at a stray kitten that found her way on a trailer of beer or a trailer of a beer truck. And she held on for all these miles, continued to be the queen of Budweiser for all those years up to the moment she died. She had a great, great, great life. I mean, she hit the lottery when she jumped on that truck. Now, there's still a place on the side of Budweiser as you face it on the far left side. We've got a door that goes in and out there. They set up a place for any feral cats to come get out of the weather, and they've got food and water. And so once you got one feral cat, a week later, you've got 2 feral cats. And a week later, you got 4 feral cats. And they have a network, evidently. I mean, I don't know. But I bet that when I retired, there was probably 7 or 8 cats that hung out there. And a few of them got so used to it, that if I leave the door cracked open, they'll come in the office or whatever. So cats pretty much have the run of the Budweiser place. It's probably one of the only Budweiser warehouses that's got cats running around. But it was really cool. Very, very cool.
I think all warehouses should have cats for the same reason that all of the old great sailing ships had cats. Because I don't care how clean and tidy and careful you are. There are things that get into warehouses that a cat could be helpful with. And I am in no way suggesting that the Budweiser warehouse had a need for a cat. But you know what I'm saying? Like other places that are not as well run as Budweiser could probably benefit from a cat.
The sad part about it is we had some pest control people come in and set some traps because we'd have a mouse every once in a while because we got a big field behind there because we got a lot of land there. And we've had a few mice get up into the office up there, but we had to set traps because she couldn't care less. I mean, she's got all the food she wants. She's so fat she can't move, and the secretaries have actually seen mice run around in the offices, and they had to set traps for them because she ain't got nothing to do with it. She said, "I'm not doing that. Why would I do that? There's no point. I mean, I've got gourmet food. What am I doing?
I have cats like that. Before we moved, our old house, Lamar, it was about a 40-year-old house, and it had a basement, which is kind of unusual where I live, and lots and lots of trees and stuff. So occasionally we would get a mouse in the house. So one night, Kevin and I are watching a movie. And we've got 4 cats, okay? And they were young at the time. So we're sitting watching a movie and a mouse darts right across the room in front of us. And I was like, oh my God, a mouse. And the cats were like, a mouse? What would that be? And I'm like, you guys, it's a mouse. This is your big chance. So back the mouse comes. And now Larry Munson, who's a Bengal. He's supposed to be like an apex predator or something. He's like an apex throw pillow, as Max would tell you. So Larry Munson gets nose to nose with the mouse, and the mouse rears up and makes this like crazy squeaky noise. And Larry Munson puts his ears back and starts backing slowly away. Like, what is this small demon?
Yeah.
Kevin ended up capturing the mouse. And the mouse was like any animal that comes within a foot of me becomes useless. This mouse was not much of a mouse either because Kev was able to like put a hat over it, right? So now we've got the mouse pinned. Once the mouse was pinned, all the cats were very interested in the hat. Kev was able to like slide a plate under the hat, took the mouse out and set it free. It was the most ridiculous thing.
Not every cat's a mouser, evidently. I mean, that must not be.
Well, you remember we had the feral cats in the garage where we used to work, Sheri?
Yeah.
So we had, and so the people in TV were feeding the cats, And it was good, except there were a lot of cats. And then the cats attracted a fox.
Ooh. Ooh.
So I'm coming to work one day, and I'm in the parking garage and I'm bopping up the stairs and I'm heading towards the front door and I'm looking and I go, "Oh, I think there's a dog loose." And I get a little closer and I go, "That dog looks funny." And then all of a sudden it took off and I went, "That is a fox." So where you have feral cats, sometimes you will have a fox. So we ended up they actually had to have people come take the cats away because we couldn't have a fox roaming around the parking lot.
It was Wild Kingdom there in the parking deck for a while.
It was.
It was really nuts. And it was sad
Yeah.
because everybody meant well feeding the cats.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
people's hearts were in the right places.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well. So I kind of love, because I'd heard you talk about your old boss, Craig. And I always
Yeah.
thought he sounded like a really good guy, but
Oh,
now I know he's just a
good
big
guy.
old softy, isn't he?
Yeah. But he really was he was really hard nosed about, projecting out because, but he was soft. He was a really good guy. Helped a lot of guys. Listen, I can't count how many people that worked there borrowed money from him and left work before they got the money paid back and just, he just whatever. I mean, he was
Some
a generous
people-
guy.
Some people will go, well, he's a sucker. But here's how I look at it. You take the actions that align with your values and spirit and soul and faith. And what other people do with those actions has nothing to do with you.
Nope.
Craig
that's on them.
felt that he had been blessed with much, and so that he would help
Yep.
people who were not so fortunate. And if they left without paying it back, that was on them. That wasn't on Craig.
Yeah. And if not, and it wasn't crippling him. I mean,
Yeah, because I'm guessing it
He-
wasn't huge amounts of money, right? He was doing pretty well.
yeah. My guys, a lot of times, I have some of my guys that work with me, they might need to get a little bit of money or something to get them maybe a car repaired or something like that. And they would come ask me about it. And I said, no, do not ask me. If you ask me to go ask Craig, Craig can tell me no for me to tell you no. If you go to him, he won't tell you no. I mean, that's the whole deal. And because a couple of times Craig said, well, just go talk to him. Tell him. I said, no. That's not between me and you and him. It's between him and you. Let him come talk to you. Because I knew it's very easy to tell somebody else to tell somebody no. Not so easy for you to. So, yeah, I told him. I said, don't ever ask me. You going up there? I said, you're batting 1,000 if you go up there and talk to him. If you send me up there, it could go either way. So.
It's so true. And this happened. You see, like you're a parent, you do this a lot with your kids too. Go ask your mom about that. I think, Karamia, you know what I think, Karamia? I think it would be better if you went directly to Kevin with that one.
Yeah.
It's the same principle.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's how it works. So, but
What was
I
our
figured you'd
vocabulary
appreciate that
word
story because
today?
you're such a what is it?
What was our vocabulary word at the beginning of the episode today?
It was just a feline thing because there's no other big words for cats. There's no cool words for. Is there a bigger, better word for cat?
I don't think so, but it's one of the things I wait for with great anticipation to see
I know,
what the word
I
of the
know,
day
I know.
is. gonna be.
I know.
It's Tim O'Donnell, by the way, loves this story, and he's the one requested that you tell this story. So I wanted to give him a shout out on here because he's the one responsible for you retelling this story.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because he said he asked me. He said, "Do you choose the best of Bob and Sheri bits?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Do you have this?" And I looked through and I said, "I can't find it." He said, "Well, maybe Lamar will retell it." And I said, "I'll do better than that. We'll do it on Talking Lamar."
Yeah,
You can get the whole story.
Exactly. That's right.
unabridged.
That's right. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up to. today's episode. Appreciate y'all taking the time to listen. I hope you had as much fun as we did, because we had a great time. Tell somebody about the Talking Lamar podcast. They might appreciate it. Now, also, don't forget to check out the True Weird Stuff podcast. Sheri's stuff is creepy and sometimes disturbing and always informative. You won't forget them, I promise you that. And there's more to come, so don't stop now, because I hate a quitter. Now, join us for the next episode of Talking Lamar. And see, this is an example of let us know what you think or what you want. Go on the Bob and Sheri app. Look down at the bottom. Click on the microphone and start talking. You know, if you want to hear a story that I hadn't told in years or whatever, let us know, because we sure will not disappoint you. And if you're old school, you can call 844-52-SHERI and leave a message. Until then,